Thank you for tuning in to Spiritual Debriefing, a podcast about Christians living a Christian life in a very un-Christian world. We're going to continue our series on raising children with our special guests tonight, Kelly Fields and Melanie Vantrease. Welcome, everybody, to Spiritual Debriefing. Thank you for tuning in. And as you can probably tell, this isn't the normal person who starts it off. We're missing Daniel tonight. He's got parent-teacher conferences. But I am Ray, as always, running the board here, trying to make sure everybody sounds good. And tonight, we have with us, as always...
I'm Derek.
Hey, Derek.
I'm here.
Hey, Derek.
Hey, Ray.
I'm Randy. I will be Randy for a while.
It's different. I'm in a different spot.
Yeah.
Now I'm Jed.
Hi, Jed.
Hi, Randy.
He got that one right, didn't he?
Always do.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's
Sorry.
next to me all the time.
Right. Never leaves your side, does
No, he didn't leave my side.
No. And then we have two special...
right here.
We got two special guests with us tonight.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Melanie.
Well,
Hello,
welcome.
ladies.
Yeah, hello.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Excellent. So just to get this out of the way quick, everybody listening, please like and subscribe and share it with your friends. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Ask us questions. We'd love to help you out. You can always just post on any of the social media, leave a comment on the YouTube video, or send an email to ray@spiritualdebriefing.com, and we'll answer your questions. And without further ado, we can get this going.
You know, it's funny. My sister texts me and goes, "Hey, what's your email address for that?" And I'm like, I have no idea. I said, "You're going to have to listen for it."
Well,
so I'm glad you said that again.
I got the business cards are coming, and we'll put it on there too, so that'll help.
That'd be good.
Help. Oops.
Well, it's like we did the last podcast. We wanted the mamas in, the importance of mama. You know, we know how a big impact they make in our lives. And I think last podcast we all said we're mama's boys. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of us are. And we really wanted to bring in, well, I guess not Randy, but that's okay, though. Most of us are. That's why I said most. Mm-hmm. I didn't say all. I said most. But we wanted to bring in some of the ladies in the church and kind of give us... or us and the listeners out there some wisdom and some guidance and what's perspectives that you have as raising kids. And I kind of like to start with you first, Kelly.
Okay.
You know, how many kids do you have?
I have two boys.
And what are their ages?
24 and 14. He would have me say almost 15.
Almost 15. Yeah.
In May. So.
It's funny when we're at that age, we're
Yes.
like, yeah, we're almost. And now we get a little older, we're like, don't say it.
Me and your 14-year-old are birthday buddies. We have the same birthday.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to start with you first.
Okay.
You know, you have one that's on his own.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In a whole different state.
Yes.
You know, and I know that's kind of worrisome for mamas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for us boys, we're not worried. You know, we're like, oh, we're gone. You know,
yes.
That's what I did. You know, right out of high school, I was gone.
Right.
You know, and you know, you still have that worry of the mama, but we can kind of go back a little bit.
Yes.
You know, because what were some of the things that you taught him through the ages so that he can be a man on his own?
Okay. So it's probably a little different with girls and boys. Mm-hmm. For me, what I knew was, so you have your mama thing where you just want to nurture and love and do everything and, you know, do all that for them. But you're raising a man.
Right.
Hopefully. Like that's your goal, right?
Yeah.
Is I want to raise a man. So for me, the things I taught him, so let me just start here.
Mm-hmm.
Mark and I were always on the same page about this is what we want for our kids.
Yeah.
Right? First thing was Jesus. We want them to find Jesus, right? After that, then it's all about building character. And that's what we were trying to put into our kids. So for us, I mean, so if you're going with what were we teaching and what was I teaching him? I relied a lot on Mark as to what does he need me to do?
Mm-hmm.
Just as far as I could step in and do everything, right?
Right.
But, you know, the mama bear thing, it doesn't work for men, right? I'm a little nervous, and I get a little emotional.
That's
talking
okay.
about it.
No.
Yeah, no, I get emotional because it's just been the joy of my life.
Yeah.
So what we were trying to instill in him was one day you will have your own family, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to take care of them. You've got to provide. You've got to protect. You're going to be the leader. So that was always in the back of my mind. Anytime I was teaching, building character was always, you're going to have to lead a family. I had a little stake in that too. So the way I believe with submission, if something were to happen to Mark, I'm going to step under him. Right? He would be a spiritual leader to me. I would look to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I know a lot of women don't like to...
Right.
You know. So, but the way I looked at it was however much I poured into him, however strong a man he would be, right? It's not just going to benefit him, his wife, his family, but eventually, if something were to happen to Mark, it would help me too. So you kind of had that part of it too.
Right.
Right. Like at 24, I could call him right now for advice for something, and I would take it from him. Like he's got that good a head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
He walks very closely with the Lord. I'm careful not to like brag and be like, oh, I have the best kids, but you know, you kind of think you do, right?
Do,
You know?
right?
Yeah. You know, but I will tell you this, we have watched him walk with the Lord. We have watched him. So he was saved when he was like 9, 10. And then from that point on, it was, okay, what does the Lord want you to do with your life, right? Because I have my ideas. I have what I think would be great, right? But that does not matter at all. It's all about now, let's find out what the Lord wants from you, what he wants you to do. We're here to help you achieve that.
Right.
So that's kind of where we went with it.
And I like how you brought that up, is that you're raising a man.
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes early on, I had that battle with my wife, Crystal.
We all
because
have a
we
battle.
have that battle because she wants to. This is the last one. You know, I started with the oldest on purpose, but we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
But you know, for our son Wyatt being the youngest,
Yes.
and
He's the baby.
he's the baby, and that's what Mama. You know, that's what Crystal always say. This
yeah.
is my last baby. Like I want to just hold on to him.
He's not always going to be a baby.
Right. And then so we've had that battle where it says, honey, I'm raising a man.
Yeah.
Like I'm not raising a little boy. You need to let go and let me do my job now.
Right.
You know, so you almost said that, you know, hey, you're raising a man.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that,
Yeah.
even as parents, even we come from a man side too, where,
Right.
you know, that's my little boy, that's my little pal, you know,
Yeah.
but then now later down in life, you're going to be a man.
Yes.
You know, and a man that has desire for Jesus.
Yes. That was.
And I went to the Beast Feast with
Yes.
with Kyle and Mark.
Uh-huh.
And even Mark told me that it was Ryan that got saved at a revival.
Yes,
Or
yeah.
at the Beast Feast,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
At the Beast Feast.
At a men's conference.
Yeah, men's conference. So that was exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to start with the oldest first on what you
Yes.
did. And now he's where?
He is in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. 18 hours away. 18 long hours
Yeah.
away. But yeah.
Yeah. And you're talking to an Arizona kid.
I know, right?
So-
I know.
And it's
Yes.
funny how that happens. you
I know. Well, the Lord had a lot to do with that too. So that's another thing. So moms out there, right? And again, I know it may look different with girls and boys, right? But you're raising them. Here's what I would say too. The time that they are in your house, so like when they're 2 and the days are long and you've not left the house and you have Cheetos in your hair and you're just like, my life is laundry and dinner and snack and nap, and then we get up and do it all over again. That goes by so quickly. You have such a short time to impress on them and help them be ready for that world, because there will be a time that, especially with boys, that your teaching is done, right? Because by about 12 years old, you're starting to have conversations where you're saying, okay, Ryan, it's not even so much about you and me and your dad. It's like your relationship with the Lord, right? Like we're, as a mom, here's the thing. It is the most joy that you will ever have. It is the best job on the entire face of the earth. But every day you're working yourself out of a job because you want to raise kids that will be a man, right?
Yeah.
So, you have that battle too of I want to hold on, right?
Right.
But man, it's just such a short time you have that when they leave your house, you want to be able to say, Lord, I did it your way. I did it for you. And then your job is just to pray. Like, it's just, Lord, they're yours. You think they're ours, right? But they're the Lord's. He was not, and I'm going to say this to women. I hope you hear me and hear my heart on this. Your kid's job is to get up and leave you one day.
Yeah.
Right? That's the hardest pill to swallow in the whole thing, right? When you're up with, sick kids and you're potty training. And by the way, that was the worst. Like, I love my kids, but potty training and learning to drive. Those two were hard.
That's what tested your patience?
That was, not even my patience, but I would just be like, do I have to do this? Like, this is just the worst. It was the driving, because you think, okay, potty training, if I can just get them there, right? And then you get them there. And then it seems like the next day they're like, hey, can I drive the car? And I'm like, no, my nerves are bad. Like, it's not you, it's just the other cars barreling towards us at 90 miles an hour. But that's the part where you quickly realize that, look, God is going to send them out into the world. That whole mama bear and, that does not work. They have got to learn how to stand and depend on the Lord themselves.
Right.
That's the thing. So and I won't get into it, but the whole mama bear thing, we need to stop.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just raise our kids and know that the Lord's going to take care of them. He has a plan. He has a purpose. But your job, it's to teach. And then by about 12, 13, you're starting to pull back. And your main job starts to become just to pray. Like, that's what you got. You're just praying.
Right.
And, you know what I'm
'Cause
saying?
you see mama bears now at kids with like 24.
Yes.
Right. Mom stepping in like,
Yes.
what are you saying to my son? And I'm like,
Exactly.
that's a man over there. What are you talking about?
Yes. And they don't even know they're a man. They're like, well, mama's always just kind of handled it for me.
Right, right.
And you don't want that. As much as I love my boys, you're not sitting on my couch when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40. You look, because here's what I know. The Lord wants to use you. Right? And if Mark hasn't, if we haven't prepared you for the Lord to use you, then we have failed. Right?
Right.
Here's what else I know. This is what'll keep you going with it. To give it all you got. Just give it all you have. when we make an account to Jesus, that's what you're going to make an account for. It is not going to be how big your house was, how much money you made, what kind of car you drove. It is going to be this boy that I gave you, right? I had a plan and a purpose. Now, it's on him to do that, but it's on you to get him ready to do that. And that's how Mark and I have always looked at raising our kids, always.
Yeah.
So,
And so I started with the oldest a little bit because
yeah.
what I've noticed too, probably a lot of us have noticed that when we first, like the firstborn,
Yes.
it's
the oldest child.
it's the oldest child.
They carry all of it on their shoulders.
Yeah, they do, right? They do. They carry it all on their shoulders. And like, Autumn says all the time, you're the hardest on me, then you are Wyatt. You're the hardest on me.
Yes.
But I think sometimes we learn from the first one, maybe a couple of things that we need to change on the second one.
Right.
We always say, you hear businesses or people say, I have 20 years experience. I have 30 years experience, 40 years experience doing this. We hate the word. I can't say hate. We dislike the word professional, right? We don't like that word.
Don't like it.
Because there's always room to learn.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And so, when you say, I got 18 years of experience, you have, 23, 24 years of experience raising a child, but it's never over, and then we're always learning from that. So, we started with the oldest.
Yes.
Now we're down to Kyle.
Okay, my sweet Kyle.
Is he? Sweet Kyle. It's the baby, right?
It is the baby, yes.
But, what are there a couple of things that you've learned with Ryan that you kind of changed with Kyle a little bit? You said you're going to raise a man, and then, and now, we're raising a man and a husband, a Christian husband, hopefully down the road someday, right?
Yeah, that's the prayer.
That's the prayer.
Yes.
And so we're doing that. You're doing that. We're all doing that. We're trying to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why you're here, so we can, learn from you. But and then there, and it's really for the mamas out there too, for them, and a lot of our wives are, you teach a lot of our wives. You teach the women's group, the Bible study, and I know some of our wives go to your Bible study all the time, and they have great things to say about you, and it's awesome,
Great.
But that's why we're down to Kyle.
Okay.
And what are maybe the couple of things that you've done, maybe changed or?
So here's what I've learned.
Okay.
And now Mark and I are kind of in a unique situation because we managed to have 2 only children. That's just the way the Lord sent them to us. So my kids are about 9.5 years apart. Okay. Almost 10. Yep. So you got one at 10, right? And you think, okay, we've done pretty good. We're good. And then you get, we got Kyle, right? Now, let me just say this too. We never planned it that way. That is just how the Lord sent them to us. We had a miscarriage. We had, no trouble having Ryan. And then just years of, Lord doesn't want you to have a baby, right? So that was another thing. That's a whole nother topic we can talk about. But so now I've gone from, I really am praying for a child. Mark and I are really praying for another child, right? And then you miscarry. And then you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's a whole nother thing. But then you finally get him, right? And so it's kind of like you have to start over. Now, here's one thing I learned was we did, look, it wasn't perfect, but we did a good job with Ryan. Like, you're kind of like, okay, we got this down.
Right.
But then God sends you another kid, and they're completely different from the kid that you thought you did a really good job with. So,
you're like, I got this, and it doesn't work.
Yes. You mean he's different? It's not the same, Okay.
Everyone's different.
Yes. So then that's what you kind of have to start to adjust to. Again, the main thing's the main thing. We're going to raise another man for the Lord, right?
Yeah.
But now, okay, who is he, right? Because this is what I believe is a mom's first job, right? You want to win the heart of your kid, okay? And when I say that, what I mean by that is you want them to trust you. Some of the questions that you had given me that were, possible, okay, and it was, what rules do you have?
Right.
Or how do you get your kid to go to church or be involved or right? The first thing you do is you get to know the kid. You parent the kid that God gave you, not the kid you want them to be. Okay? So you're going to get some that are athletic, some that aren't. Mark and I, the two most extroverted people that you probably ever meet in your entire life, had the two most introverted kids, and we were like, oh, I don't get it. Like, you would rather just stay home? Like, what? I mean, we were kind of like, okay. But they're both very, they're very similar in some ways, but they're completely different. So when we get the next kid, Kyle, sweet Kyle, and he's just the sweetest, those kids, he just doesn't have a mean bone in his body. Right. So for him, I'm a little like, we got to toughen you up a little bit. Like,
I'm making a man.
Yes, and not that he's not tough. He does his karate thing and he's really good, but he's just a really sweet kid. And so what I learned, I guess going all the way back to what you asked me, what I learned about that is it goes by even faster than the first one, right? Oh my gosh. I mean, it just gets faster and faster. But you have to learn who they are, right? So now we've got a different. You love them the same, right? But they may need you in two different ways, personality-wise, and then, like I said, also with us, age-wise, So, because we didn't have two coming up at the same time, right? We had these, And so now you're trying to figure, okay, what does he need from me? And it's going to look different. He has a different personality. You talked about the older kid, Ryan, oh my goodness. I will say this. You do learn to just kind of chill out a little bit, okay, he doesn't have to be in knee socks and a bow tie at 2:00 on Tuesday afternoon every day, right? Like, it's okay if the t-shirt doesn't match the pants or, you kind of chill out on that kind of stuff. But essentially you're doing the same thing, but you're wanting to find out who is this child that God's given to us now, right? And what's God's purpose for him? Because here's what we've got. So Kyle was 13, and he comes and he says, Mom, I think God may have called me to be a preacher, and you're so excited, and it's like, okay, so now how do we do this, right? Like, our job is to help you become who God wants you to be. Yeah. So you're doing the same thing, but it just may look a little bit different. With our oldest, we never had to set a curfew. Like, we didn't. He was like, I'm going to go do this. He went and did that, and he came home. And we never had. I even asked him when I saw that, I was like, did we give you rules? Did we? But the truth is, we always looked at that, no matter what age, right? Here's Mark and I's deal. We always said the amount of freedom you get is directly tied to the amount of responsibility you take. Right? So if nobody really has any business being out after midnight, right? I mean, none of us, right? Yeah. But, the whole curfew thing, the whole rule thing, just talk to us, tell us, it's going to look different,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Carrie and I actually went to a conference and we listened to someone speak, and he was an amazing speaker, motivational. Andy Andrews, some of the best books I've ever read, and they are biblical. They are motivational, I guess. And he's got some fiction stuff, which I like. But anyways, we went to one of his seminars, and he was saying, when they are young, you have them tight, like in your fist. When they're young, that's discipline time. That's instilling values. That's teaching them the Lord. So whenever they are young, your fist is tight. But as they grow, they need to let go. But what a lot of parents happen is when they're young, oh, let's spoil them, let's love on them, let's, and so their hands open. But then as they grow older, they're like, oh no, you're not equipped, you're not responsible, and they start closing in. And what's that kid going to do? That kid's going to rebel and leave and still not be equipped for the world. So that's the approach.
Yes. Yeah.
We went to that seminar back when Chloe was a baby, I think. So that was very helpful and something I have kept in mind.
And the only other thing I would say, too, with what you said, it's a great point. If you can model your parent the way God parents us. Right? Like, I'm not talking about letting the crazy people run the asylum, okay? But grace, right? They're learning, right? And you want them to trust you, right? So you want to treat them as a person. Here's what I know. In our family, like, that's the first and best team they will ever be on. Right. That's that first. We all have a role. We all have things that we do, that we function, that makes our family tight and strong. And that's what you're wanting to do, right? So you're raising them that, look, our family, you are a part of it, right? And none of us function well without you doing your part. Right. And I don't even mean chores or all that goes with it. But I mean, just that God put you here, that we all love each other. And we have a thing at our house where we're always like, we're all in this together.
Right.
Okay? I've told my boys, you can ask us anything. And, when you get to a certain age and there's certain questions, I'm trying to keep this above board, right? But I'm like, listen, just come to us. Ask us, right? And if you're too embarrassed, look, we have a kind of an inside joke, but I'm like, you can shut the door and holler it through the door. Like, if you don't even look at me, I don't want to look at you if I have to answer something, Right. But we're gonna get through it together. Right. And I will tell you this, and I will say, Mark Fields, he was wonderful about being a leader and about we are all in this together. There's not one thing that we all have to go through that we're not all going to pull together and get through. And that boy, I tell you, that just, I don't even have words. I will start crying because I'm telling you, ladies, here's another thing of advice I can give you too. I mean, let the husband lead. Because you're not making it without a strong leader. We weren't designed to do, and listen, I know the world we live in. I know not every situation is ideal, right? But you can always start where you're at, right? You just, the man's role as a dad, right? There's nothing better on the face of the earth. And if it's done correctly and if it's done well, your kids will thrive.
Yep. That's what I was just going to throw in and say, that as long as the husband or the man is biblical, you will have a much easier time of it. I can definitely understand if they're lost, that could make it trickier. Every situation is different. So I do understand you're, kind of qualifying that. But, I had a couple of verses written down, and what you previously had said about, model how the Lord loves us. I mean, that's exactly biblical. That is Deuteronomy 6 through 7. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you're walking along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. It literally means every step of the day you're modeling, you're explaining, you're talking about the Lord and why he tells you to do things this way.
Exactly.
And they'll grow up in it. That's what we've been doing with Harmony, and it's all she knows. Exactly. And so that's just what she reflects.
That's the thing. See, and here's the beauty of it. And I was just praising the Lord when I came here, because I was thinking about all these questions and, so Ryan was 4 years old when Mark and I got saved. And the privilege of getting to raise our kids in a Christian home, right? Like, that is, I don't know, it just doesn't work any other way.
Right.
Okay? That's the easiest part. You know, if you're listening and you're not saved, you can do that today. So that, I'm not saying you're not doing a good job. I'm saying that the Lord has a way that makes it work right.
Right.
Okay? And the husband's role in the family, he represents Jesus. Okay? You talk about an awesome privilege, right? And big shoes to fill. So when you say, Ray, done biblically, right? Done. Listen, if women will back up and let their husband be the type of Christ, right, in the home, the woman's role is the Holy Spirit. We're the helper, right? And you can eventually, not that Mark and I are perfect or our marriage is perfect, but I can tell you this, we've been married almost 25 years. This is what we've gotten to. Mark would tell you, I can't do what I do if Kelly doesn't do what she does.
Right.
And I will say, I can't do what I do if Mark doesn't do what he does, right? So now you've just got this unit, this bond. And listen, you know how the kids just, they benefit, they thrive in it because they have got the best of both worlds working for them, right? So, and the biggest thing too, I would just say this too, church and your activity at church, you know, the church is the overflow of what's, or it's supposed to be the overflow of everything going on in your home all week long. Okay. So, you know, you want your kids to see you busy. You want your kids to see you actively serving the Lord in your local church, right? But it just can't ever be to the neglect of them.
Right.
Right? Because that will blow up in your face.
Yeah,
I mean,
We talked
real quick.
about that a little bit last podcast.
Yeah, we
Doing
talked
too
about
much.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're doing too
Burning
much.
yourself out, but also it causes issues with the family because
Yeah.
family, it goes God, family, church.
Yes. And remember, family, that's the first institution that God put. It was family.
Yeah, there were
and
no
then
churches
church.
back then,
No,
was it?
it's
Right.
family and then church,
Yeah.
you know. And they both, but here's the thing. Family and church, right, are supposed to work in harmony. And they can, right, if we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing at home, right? And the kids see a real relationship with Jesus, right? Right? They don't see the just, you get in here and do what I said.
Right,
you know, that
right,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Bull by the ear.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then show up at church and, you know, because the thing is, we're not trying to be perfect families for the Lord.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right. I don't want my kids to see that I'm any different at church than I am at home.
That's a great
I want them
point.
to see me and say, that's the same mom I've
That's
got
who
at
she
home
is.
is what's at church. And I don't play those games. You know, we're not doing that. You know, and at the same time, I don't want my kids to come here and be someone who they're not. I want it to be the same kids at home, in town, at church, don't matter. You are who you are,
Yeah.
and who you are is supposed to be pleasing to God.
You're supposed to be identifiable as a Christian from people just looking at you.
Right.
From seeing your actions, how you interact, how you dress, how you act,
Right.
you know.
And so I think we're on the same page with that.
Yeah.
You know, we try to be the same person at home as we are here, here at church, and that's, I am who I am.
And kind of going with that, here's the, I mean, I know I'm super chatty.
No,
but,
you're good. You're good. That's why these last for like 2 to 3 hours long.
I know. Here's the thing, too. I would just encourage all families, all moms, dads, everybody. In the world we live in, you got to get back to simple.
Yeah. We're only laughing because we say it all the time. We say it all
I
the
didn't
time.
know. I didn't know.
Our
Oh, no, I'm
first
sorry.
or second podcast was keep it simple.
Right. Let's keep
Yes.
it simple.
Yes. You know, you look, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to brag on my husband here real quick, okay? And I want to be truthful, but I don't want to be like if people do it a different way, that's between you and the Lord, right?
Right,
I'm not
right,
trying to,
right.
but I had a husband who said, you know what? From the time we got saved, he was like, you stay at home with the kids, okay? Because your heart is, I wanted to be home. I wanted to be the one raising my kids, right? I understand their situations. Let's just, but I had a husband that would work 2 jobs. Like when we didn't have money, he would work 2 jobs so I could be at home with the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me say this to women out there too. When you're at home, okay, because I've been at home now for 22 years, okay, you're at home with a purpose, right? And you're at home to make your home a good place to be. We're not at home eating Doritos, trying to get lunch. You know what I'm saying?
No, I do, yeah.
I know women that are like that. I'm home, but like, you want to go to lunch? And I'm not saying women can't ever do that, but I mean, they're home with no purpose. They're just home, not working outside the house. Okay? So if you're going to be home, right, let's be home.
Well, I mean, it's in Titus that says you work at home.
You are the work. Yes, you work at home.
It is not just at home. You are working at home.
And there's never-ending work to do at home.
Listen, I have been a stay-at-home mom for 22, 23 years. I've never, not because some people will say, do you get bored? And I'm like, I've never once run out of things to do. I mean, in 20, 3, 4, 5 years, I've never once. There has never not been laundry waiting for me.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's never.
Every night you say, that's enough.
Exactly.
Not, I'm done.
Yeah,
That's enough.
Yeah. Whatever I do, it's not going to get done anyway, So, but there is something, I would just say this too, in the world, there's so much to distract us. There's so much to keep us busy. And it makes us feel good about ourselves, or we can be easily deceived. I will just say this too. I say this in my ladies' Bible study all the time. The Lord is not going to use you outside your home till you get that home right. Okay? That is how you treat your husband. That is your submission. That's how you treat your kids. That is how you treat even the home that God gave you. Most of you guys know Mark and I mean, it's not a big fancy house, but listen, everything the Lord has brought to us, we have taken care of.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big fancy. It doesn't have to be. I pushed around a 1983 Honda Civic. Let me tell you, that was the cleanest car you've ever seen. Because I was like, Lord, I might want an upgrade, and that was in the year 2008, let me just say. So I was kind of looking for an upgrade.
Yeah.
But I also knew I'm going to be thankful for this, and I am going to take care of what the Lord has blessed us with. And if you can start there, I know we're kind of getting off.
Well, no, and some of us take for granted, right? And we kind of forget that, God has provided us the things that we have.
Yes.
And I'm going to rewind just a little bit because I really like when you brought up is that you need to know your child. Yes. And the last podcast we brought that up, and it's encouraging because the importance of the relationship that you have between you and your child, because we know our child.
Yes.
Somebody will say something and be like, no, that's not our child, because we know our child. We know it, and then. I think that's really important too, as you brought up, was that relationship that you build. And that starts from day one. Yeah. And then you really get to know your child. And I think it's really important that we need to do that.
Yes.
Some of us that I know, some parents that don't have a relationship with their child.
Right.
And then you can kind of see the outcome of that. And, I just wanted to touch on that. I just kind of rewind a little bit. I liked how you brought that. And
well, and it's your job.
Right. It is our job.
Because God has trusted you with the kids He gave you. Right.
Right. They're a gift from the Lord, right?
Thank you.
I remember which verse that one is. I think it's Psalm 127:3, right? Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from Him.
They are. They are. And if you'll treat them that way, right? And it is your job to get to know them. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Because here's the thing too. we live in America where, everybody gets a trophy these days. You know what I'm saying? Right? For nothing. Right. Everybody wants everything to be easy, and everybody has the smartest kid, and everybody's got the best looking kid, and everybody's got, you know what I'm saying?
And they teach you can do anything you want to do. And I'm sorry, no, you can't. You can't. You can do anything that you're good at.
Exactly. And here's the thing.
And work at.
Yes.
Yeah, and work at. Yeah.
Because you might not know this about me. I played basketball. I was actually a really good point guard.
Okay.
My kids will tell you I scored 17 points in one ball game. Okay. People that can't see me, I'm 5'1". At some point.
She taller than you, Jen?
I'm a little taller.
Just a little bit.
I hate to say it, she's taller than me.
But I still think I'm the oldest one in the group.
Right.
I want to sneak this one in here before we change subjects here.
Yeah.
And I just quickly decided this here. Instead of just throwing quotes out, I'm going to put them as questions.
Okay.
Either one. This quote here says, but I'm going to ask you what's the truth in it. Mm-hmm. When you are a mother, you are never really alone in your thoughts. A mother always thinks. Let me start. A mother always has to think twice, once for herself and once for her children.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And yeah. Because you're constantly thinking, like I can tell you right now what we're going to have for dinner tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like Kyle has a quiz bowl on Saturday. That's already planned out, right? So all the housework that I would normally do that day or whatever, that has to be done before we go, right? The lunch has to be packed the night before. Yeah. And that's just in the practical thing. But yes, and yes. And a yes for however many kids you have, right? So yes.
Is that true,
Do you have
Melanie?
any thoughts on it?
Look, I've got all kinds of schedules in my head. I have it on my phone where I have alerts for things that goes off, and it's just everyday things like when you've got 3 kids and one on the way, you're like, I don't remember the last time you had a shower.
That
Didn't take a shower. Okay.
And so I'm
is
like,
that in the Bible, Ray? What verse is that?
Keep yourself clean.
so you're like, you're looking kind of grimy. How about you go wash up, And that's just like a very basic thing. And then I've got alerts, hey, Kylie's due to give me a multiplication test this week. And Chloe needs to do an extra set of reading because I let her slide on it yesterday. And now I've got doctor's appointments thrown in. And I got chickens. I have alerts on my phone to turn my eggs in my incubator now. And so
I like chicken.
Chicken tenders, right?
Egg market nowadays, right?
Strips. I keep forgetting chicken strips.
So when you're a mom, I know and a wife because Carrie literally he doesn't make his own appointments. Mm-hmm. I do have to say he made his last eye appointment. I was so proud of him. I'm like, you did such an excellent job. Yes. But I don't expect him to deal with that. He's dealing with other things. And I get to be the organizer and the planner and stuff. But that takes up a lot of brain space. Mm-hmm. That a mom is a job. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, Kelly, did you homeschool?
I've done all 3. We have homeschooled, public school, and Christian private school.
Okay.
I've done all 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because
we may be here a little longer if you want my opinion.
No, that's okay. No, because and this is what's really good too, because you've done all 3.
All 3.
And Melanie, you're homeschooling now.
Yes.
And how many kids do you have?
I have 3 with one on the way.
One on the way, and 3 girls.
3 girls with another girl on the way.
Yeah, another girl on the way. Yeah, and what are their ages?
10, 9, and 6.
10, 9, and 6. Yeah, and then one on the way.
You look like you're unsure about that. Are you sure?
No, I'm sure.
She was wanting to pull her phone out and look at the app.
I might have to pull that up. No, like they are. All 3 of them are pretty close together, but they're also different. And just the 10 and 9-year-old are only 15 months apart. Mm-hmm. And then 3 years later, I got little Carly, and she's like the sweetest thing ever. And so I'm really, really excited to see the personality on this new one, because I'm sure it's going to be different.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be different.
And which is good, because now, I mean, you homeschool, Kelly. You've done all three.
Yes.
And so it would be good for the listeners to have that kind of perspective, because we did touch a little bit last time on podcasting, but then we had the professionals in now, Jed.
They're the ones dealing with the school.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can start with you, Kelly, because you have the opinion of those three, and then we'll go back to you, Melanie, on really that homeschooling now with three kids at the house.
I can tell you, I've never been more passionate, I think, about anything in my life than homeschooling. And that's real funny, because I wrote a paper in college on why you shouldn't homeschool.
Oh, really?
I did.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't it funny how you challenge the Lord like that?
Oh yeah. He was chuckling.
Yep.
He was chuckling.
Because you really think so. Okay.
Yeah. Man, this is going to be a good one for you.
That's good. So where do we start?
What are some of the, I don't know, maybe the advantages and disadvantages, I guess, of that you can kind of put those three together in homeschool,
Yes.
public school, and private Christian school?
Yes.
Where do you see?
If you had to do it over again, which one would you choose?
Which one would you do?
Oh, definitely Christian school. Definitely. But look, it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, if we had the money just starting out, yeah, we would do that. I will say this, though. Here's the little caveat, too. Just because it's a Christian school, okay? Just
Right.
It's just like people, just because they say they're Christian.
We all shall fall short.
Yeah, we do. Some just a lot shorter than others. And no, I'm not making fun of you, Jay.
I looked right at you.
I know. I saw.
Yeah.
Booster seat and all.
That's why you're taller than Kelly.
I was going to say, that's why he sat by me tonight, right? Yeah. But no, so, I'm just going to try to be very nice about it. I'm not a fan of public school. Both of my kids went to kindergarten in public school, and then homeschooled. Here's my thing, and let me say this, because that was probably a very unfair statement that I made. Public school, listen, it is like anything in life. It's the world that the kids are in. Okay, so if you're doing your job at home, you're going to be okay. Let me say that, because that was probably a very unfair statement I made. Just watch them, because here's the thing. Whether you're homeschool, public school, Christian, private school, look, your kids are you're still going to be the one that they learn the most from.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you should be.
That's your goal. That's what you want, right? So you just want to make sure that whatever influences, especially if your kids are not with you 8 hours the majority of the day, right? Whatever influence that is, you want to be on top of that. Is that fair enough to say? I loved homeschooling. My kids did not like homeschooling, but here's the difference for mine. They did great in it. They did super great. But for my kids, if I'd had more kids, maybe, you just have to remember with each of my kids, it was them and me sitting at a kitchen table, and that was their day. Like,
right.
I'm cool, but not that cool. Like, I can't fill that void of, So, now look, it was wonderful as far as I got that time with them, and I could just put into them,
Build that foundation.
Yes, that was wonderful. Just again, know your kid. Do they need a little more social, right? Like if you're gonna homeschool, do we need to do a little more, outside activities. At the point that I homeschooled my oldest, we only had one car. So we were when I tell you stuck at home, we were at home all day. And like Ryan's friend was, 30-year-old woman. Like, he needed a little bit more. And Mark
Mom's
was
my best friend.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm cool, but not like I can't. That's a lot of pressure to be, know. Dad's working, right? So then, Mark would come home and they'd play, but they just need a little more social interaction, right? Yeah. And at that time, like I said, we had one car, so Mark would take that to work. So, we were just home a lot, just and it just, it's wonderful. I'm all for it. Yeah. Just for us, it wasn't. I will tell you, the school that my kids went to, the private Christian school here, love. It is still small enough to where it's almost like my oldest son. He graduated with 39 kids. It was like a youth group. You know what I mean?
Right. That was the size of basically my public school class.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I really learned, like, here's what I did learn about all three schools. It's just like with anything in life. It's, as parents, it's what you put into it.
Right.
Right. Like it is your attitude, and it's whatever you put into it. That's what you're going to get out of it.
Right.
Like our school that we have, we're doing everything, right? We don't have buses, okay? So we got Quiz Bowl. We're all going to Conway. It's a lot of work, but it's all about what you put into it. Yeah. Homeschool, same way, know. If your kids go public school, same thing. Volunteer, be up there, be involved.
Yeah, be involved.
Right. Yeah. Luckily, there's a lot more parents doing that now because of COVID. Exactly. At least one of the positive benefits of that, right?
Yes, exactly.
You have to know who your kids are around, friends and everything, and know their character.
Yeah. As
well. So that's the big thing with public school, because while I do homeschool, I worked in public school. In college, I worked in a kindergarten classroom for 2 years, and then when Chloe was a baby, I substituted for a couple of years. So and I was public schooled myself, but working in the school, seeing that from the teacher's side perspective, it's not going to work if you don't know who your kids are around. Right. That's when we're going to start straying.
One of the biggest things my wife said to me when we were first discussing this, because she was like, I want to homeschool our daughter, and it's you look at that in this society, and immediately your first thought is like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. How am I going to be able to support the whole family? And and I mean, I can definitely say that is a gift from the Lord for us that we can do that. But her biggest thing was, I don't want her being taught by other kids, because there's a teacher there. There's one teacher and then 30 plus children. She's going to learn way more from other kids. And as soon as she said that, I was like, most of the bad stuff I know, I didn't learn from my parents. Right. I didn't learn from a book. I learned it from my hood rat friends.
School bus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that school bus.
It's the school bus,
Yeah, because that's when you get to the older kids, and they love teaching the young kids all the good stuff.
Yes. They love to see your eyeballs go, what?
Yeah. Yes. So, it made perfect sense, and I said, we're gonna try to do this. We can do this, and we weren't even saved at that point. Right. We got saved later, and it all fit into place.
The Lord has a way of doing that.
He really does.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
and you've homeschooled all three of. You're still homeschooling, and you started from day one.
Yeah, I've started since day one. I had parents as teachers. It's a program where someone would come out and once a month or so work with you and your kid, and I thought, hey, that's great. And so they would come in, and she was telling me, Chloe, my oldest, is not going to be ready to go to kindergarten because I didn't have a way to get her to preschool. So I couldn't send her to preschool, and so she's like, she's not going to be ready for kindergarten. So I start working with Chloe, And, you know, Kylie's only 15 months apart, so I'm working with Kylie too.
Yeah.
She comes back 3 months later. Now she's too ready for kindergarten, and she's going to be bored. I looked at her, and I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, she caught on really fast. Oh, my goodness. Well, if it's going to be that picky, I'll just teach her myself because I'm not going to stop this ball that's rolling.
Right.
And so then there's a couple of women at church who homeschool their kids, and they gave me advice about curriculum. And I found a very biblical-based homeschool curriculum that I still use today. We're just trucking along with it.
Nice.
And that's how it started, is I was going to send them to public school because I researched and wrote the paper why I should. And God had other plans for me. Absolutely, he had other plans for me. And Carrie was able to make enough money for me to be able to stay home. Not saying that, hey, it was a lavish lifestyle.
Right.
But it is.
She had everything you need.
It's a good lifestyle. You know, I learned how to budget really well. And then, you know, plan our meals out and not go crazy going out to eat and things like that. And we made it work, right? You make it work, and we made it work enough where I'm now teaching all three of them. And I plan to continue. I get this question all the time. Oh, you're going to send them in high school, right? I did all the work up until now. Why would I give up then?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're like, well, what about prom? I'm like, we live in an area where homeschool's taken off, and they have prom for homeschoolers. My little introvert girls up there may not go,
Right.
but they have it. They also host a graduation where my kids can walk across the stage with and have a diploma and everything. You know, like, we're not missing out because I'm teaching them at home.
Right.
In fact, we're able to do more things now that they're at home because, Kelly, I don't know about you, but I'm not sitting 8 hours a day at the kitchen table.
Exactly. Yes.
I got other things to do. I got other priorities. And it is a little bit different because mine are closer together. But their school should take about 3 hours. And that's it. That's book work. You know, we're learning all day long, but 3 hours of book work. And then we got, you know, every second Friday we go meet at other homeschoolers at the park or something, and we have gymnastics. Softball's about to start. We're going to sign them up for basketball. We have church every Wednesday and Sunday. Plus whatever events the church throws, we tend to come to it.
Right.
You know, Carrie
they'd
and
be mad if you didn't.
They would. They love coming here. They love it. And you know, they want to be here. We go and we pick up our church friend and we go to the park, right, Ray? We picked up Harmony, we went to the park for an hour.
She said that was one of the best days she's had in a while because she had family visit, and then she got to go to the park, and then she got to go ride horses. And it was just a great day.
That sounds like a great day.
I know. And can I just say this too, because I was listening to Melanie, and I'm still going back to when I said I'm not a fan of public school. I really shouldn't have said it. Here's what we need to do, though.
It's okay. You can't lie in church, Kelly.
Well,
so
I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
That's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
I do want to say this, though. As moms, as Christians, family, listen, God gives us all the freedom to choose what we want to do, okay? And we do need to be a little bit more supportive. If it's not what we want to do, right? You have the choice. Jesus gives you the freedom to do that, and we need to be a little more, a little less opinionated about how we do that. You know what I'm saying? And so, because I do know this about homeschooling. You are nervous, like when I brought my kids home to homeschool, right, it was like, oh, this is on me. Like, okay, I stepped out there and said, I can do that. Okay.
Now what do I do?
This is on me, you know.
Especially because you won't know for 20 years, did you mess it up?
See, I was going to say that. And I am going to brag just a little bit, not on me, but on my oldest son. I was huge on reading. Like, whatever you don't get, we're going to learn to read. Like, you're going to be able to read and comprehend, and that's it. If you can do that, we're good. And I did not realize it, but I was the one that taught both of them to read. And the whole time, you know, you're confident, but, you know, you're kind of thinking like, oh, hope we're getting it, you know. My son, oldest, made a 35 in reading on his ACT. I did not realize what I care. I'm only bringing that up to brag on him a tad, but I didn't realize what I had carried for like 17 years when he got that.
That
I was
anxiety.
Like, yes, I was like,
did I teach him okay?
Yes, I did. I literally, at all those years later, said, "Oh, I did it. Oh my gosh, I taught him how to read." Like, okay, you know. So I do want to. That's why I bring that up. We do need to be more supportive of the decision as Christian brothers and sisters.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, because like when we had Autumn, you know, our first.
Yes.
And so we made a decision too to go into public school.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that because, you know, and Crystal even said that she's like, I don't have the patience to do this.
Right.
Like I'm not designed, you know, like for her, you know,
Yes.
that's what it's her. She's
Yes.
like, I don't have patience.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's better off if she starts in public school.
Mm-hmm.
So we made that decision, and both of our kids go to public school, and they've done it. You know, Autumn be graduating here in 3 months, and you know Wyatt's in 7th grade. You know, so they've been through the public school, but I think y'all touched on this was that we have to be involved in their lives so much more. It seems like I got to be involved in their lives so much more. Who are they hanging out with? Who are they talking to? Mm-hmm. What are they, you know, what are they doing? What is going around school? And
because now it's even to what is the teacher teaching them?
Right.
Used to you didn't even have that, right? You didn't have that. Now you got what are they coming at?
But you know what's funny now is that Autumn, you know, she wants to have a bunch of babies, and you know, and she came home 2 days ago. And says, I had the weirdest thing ever happen to me in the women's bathroom.
Oh, no.
I said, what was that? She goes, they call them furries, I guess.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. I've heard of this.
Yeah, and they dress up like animals and, you know, whatever.
Right.
And she goes, this girl was just sitting there barking at me. Barking. And I'm like, what'd you do? She goes, I didn't know what to do, Dad. Like, I have no idea what to do. She's just sitting there barking at me. And I'm like, I don't know. But you know what she said is that, I'm homeschooling my kids. so you know what? That might be a different generational thing. Is that you know, I got brought up in the city and you know raised in the city, and I give my dad a hard time all the time because now we're out in the country and we got animals. And I said, Dad, why did we grow up in the city? Mm-hmm. To show you what you didn't want, right? So now we're showing our kids that you know, she might do that. She might, you know, I'm going to homeschool my kids now because now I got to see everything that's going on and the teachings and the different things. And so, you know, that might change.
It's funny you say that because my son has spent 1 year teaching in charter school. He is not going back next year. And he told me tonight, I'm just going to homeschool. So, I mean, you know, but he's kind of saying, you know, so,
yeah,
who knows?
And there's benefits than all of that. You know, I think most of us have gone to public school, and you know, we've seen the things that have changed, but it seems like they're changing more now and faster. Than than when we went to school. Because I always say that I think we're kind of like the last generation of the athletes. You know what I'm saying? Because
we said the Pledge of Allegiance. We prayed in school.
We did the prayer. Yeah.
None of that happens no more.
No.
None of that happens.
No. And then, you know, it's funny. I was talking to another buddy about that. I'm off the subject a little bit, but talked to another buddy. He goes, yeah, if you go back to the high school and look at when the last state champions were, you know, like all of them on the border, you're like, oh, 98, 99, 2000, you know, and you're like, oh, it stops right there and there's a big gap, you know, and you're like, you know, it's a little different, you know, just a little bit, but
I'm just going to piggyback on what you said because this is my thing. We have got to, no matter if you homeschool, private school, whatever you do, listen, we have got to get back to a point of quit making it easy for your kids.
Quit it. Need to learn.
They have
how.
no character. I mean, you've got to build character. We have watched our oldest son. He has been in this job. First of all, it's a job he didn't even, this is nowhere what he wanted to do when he went to college and got his degree. It is what the Lord put out in front of him, right? It's the job that came through, right? So it was very hard to hear him struggle with that. And what Mark and I would just say is, listen, the Lord has a plan. And look, easy is not good. Right. Easy doesn't make you who God wants you to be.
Yes.
Right? And then you get off the phone and you could almost cry. And I'm in 3 a.m. and I can't sleep because oh Lord, what's he going to do? What's he going to, and I have to get out of the bed, pray at 3 a.m. just for me to be able to go, okay, Lord, you're in control. You've got it. You've got a plan for him. I will tell you this, though. It has served him so well. He has matured and grown. And he was just telling me tonight, he's been at a job that he doesn't like. It didn't go well. They told him today, they're like, you're the best worker we've seen. You're not coming back next year. He's like, no. But the people were asking him, how can you do your job so good when you don't like it? Mm-hmm. And he was like, because that's how you work. Yeah. It doesn't matter what I like. And just to hear him say that, it's like, thank you, Lord. So I just say, I know it's a little hard, but we got to get the easy away from our kids.
Well, just like the saying that we always say, we've seen a couple times, is that, the easy times make weak men. Yes. Right? Yes. And the hard times make strong men. Yes. Right? Yes. And it's very true to that. Yep. And you can see the different generations that are coming through, right? It's always and there's always a circles, right? Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because, we've talked about that. We've discussed that many times. And it's just encouraging, too, that, our listeners can listen and be like, hey, these are the same things that we've been saying. Yes. And
they apply over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'll say this for the public schools. Let me say this, too. I will say for the Christian kids and the Christian families that are in public school right now, listen, it will serve to their benefit because if they are Christian, right, they have to be Christian. Right. Mm-hmm. It's not like when we all went to school, right? And everybody went to church and all that. Right. What they're being faced with is going to make them contend for their faith. So let's just, I'll give that to them.
We did make sure we talked about that on the podcast before Autumn came in, so that we know. Right. It definitely is harder nowadays. We have to recognize that that there are things that are acceptable now that would have gotten you thrown in jail when I was in school. Yes. I'm just saying that. We don't even have to go any deeper to make too many people upset, but it's true.
Oh, no. Listen, the way we did it, so my mom and dad both taught public school, right? Okay, how fun is this? Me and my sister both had to ride to high school with both of our parents every morning and ride back.
So all the other kids loved you guys.
Oh, yes. Right. Listen, talk about know your kids. I'll just put it this way. My dad, when I got to high school, my locker was right in front of his classroom door. Just so you know. So talk about knowing your kids.
That was coincidence.
Yes, and my sister, she was the perfect one, not me. No, this is how it went in backwoods Louisiana where I went to school. The principal, if you which you just have to know him, he was wonderful. He was a family friend, but he just bypassed the whole thing. And he just called your mama to come to school if you couldn't behave. Mm-hmm. And let's just say we heard lots of, you knew when the mama showed up and had rollers in her hair and her house shoes on, that kid's not going to do that again. And you would hear it in the hallway. Yep. I guarantee you would hear it. Make me come up here. I ain't even got my hair done. You better get back in class. I mean, that's how it wasn't, when we grew up. Yeah, that's exactly. That's how it was when I came. That's how I came up. So
when kids actually had a healthy fear of their parents, which a lot of them don't nowadays.
They have no fear of adults or any kind of.
Well, I mean that's going to be on you as a parent. You know, you
true.
have to be a strong parent to raise kids who can withstand the world. And that's going to start when they're young, and you have to follow through what you say. Okay? I don't like spanking my kids, but I tell you what, they got plenty of it, because I'm not going to play that game. Let's wait till Dad gets home. It's no, ma'am. You messed up. Now Mom's going to have to spank your butt, and I don't like it. Okay? And then when your dad gets home, I'm still going to tell him. Okay? Then we're going to have a family discussion, because we're in this together. You know? And so if your kids are in public school, that's fine. But it means you have to step up and step into that role of a parent even more at home and model that Christ-like household at home. You have to set those expectations and follow through. Because if they're not getting it at home, they're going to act out twice as much at school, because who cares if they call Mom?
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Ooh, let's do another quote, Randy. That was fun.
All right, I've got one. So, a question.
Please, I'm sorry. Please. Is that okay?
Question for him again, because I'm not a mother.
Okay.
Okay. Being a mother is learning about the strengths you didn't know that you had, and dealing with fears that you didn't know existed.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I can tell you this. I became a mom whenever I was 20. I was pregnant at 19 and I had her at 20. So anyways, and I didn't have any family close or anything. It was terrifying. I didn't know what to do with her. No idea. But as she's grown, I have grown. You know, she gets up, and then I have another one right back to back. Then you're like, I even put it out on social media. My first day with both of them by myself. Someone say a prayer. It was terrifying. I mean, but we got through it, and then we've grown some more, and I've learned this confidence in myself that I never really realized that I had. Now, I've always been a pretty confident person. I know who I am. I know what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. But being reassured by God that I'm doing the right thing with my children has instilled a level of confidence and self-assuredness within myself, because I know I'm doing it from Him. And, you know, and Carrie's there. He's a leader in our household, and he's there to support me with what I'm doing with the kids. He's helping me with that level of confidence as well. So becoming a mom, it brings out all kinds of stuff. I always knew I was feisty. So, you know, someone come at my kids, I'd probably knock you down. Like, you know, like, and that's any kid that's in my house, any kid I'm around, that's my kid now. So don't mess with it. You know, I work with the youth. Don't mess with my youth babies.
Youth babies. I like it.
Yes.
Don't be messing with them. I love them. Those are mine.
Yes.
You know, even though they're leaving me, which I'm so proud of them, you know, and I want them to know I love them. They roll their eyes at me.
Autumn, yeah.
Autumn and Haley, and I say, I love you guys. And you're like, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, no, but come here. Just let me love you. You know, and that's how I just feel about children in general. I tell Kyle all the time, we're going to get to where we're having conversations.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Because he's a whole lot of one-word answers.
Yes.
Funny
answers.
Yeah.
He is.
Funny.
Yes. Yeah.
He's a funny kid. But we're going to have a conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
So, who's the comedian? You or
Mark. So I would tell you I am. Mark would tell you he is. No.
So he got it from you, huh?
Yeah. My oldest son. I don't know. I will say this. I'll go to this too. That is very important in your household. Have fun. Have fun with your kids.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Laugh and make sure they have a good time. You know,
Well, that just goes to the bonding of them.
Yes.
You know, they're going to come up and resent you if you're just mean all the time. Whenever I say we have discipline at our house, it's not unwarranted discipline. You know, but we also have goofy times and
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, I love it when I look out there and Carrie's on the trampoline with them, you know, and things like that. Or he just bought like a sand rail dune buggy thing. He just bought it, and they're gonna put a motor on it and everything, but he's excited because he gets Chloe to help work on it too. You know, so it's like a whole bonding experience, and then they're gonna go and be all unsafe and make me terrified while they're driving it and stuff, and I'll be like praying over them.
I think we knew about that before she did.
Probably.
That's why I kind of went.
Yeah, he
got it.
Sorry,
Well,
Carrie.
he texted me and he's like, so my buddy brought this to work today for me to look at. I go, did he? How do you know to bring it to work today? So, yeah, no. Brought it home.
It all
They
works
got
out,
it.
remember?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Whatever, man. Whatever makes you happy. But he's excited because now he's got the girls into the dirt bikes and the four-wheelers, and they love to go out there and shoot their guns and stuff. And then
America.
Me and
I know Harmony can't wait till she can shoot guns, but we just have nowhere at our house to do it.
I guess bring her over,
I'll
Ray.
have to.
Yes.
I'll have to.
Because
Yes.
that's what we're doing at my house, of all girls.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing real quick, Randy, on this before, because I know there are a lot of mothers that struggle. When you said the fear, what was that part in there?
Here,
The
I'll
fears?
go back to it. So,
Yeah.
Right here. It says being a mother is learning about the strengths you didn't know you had and dealing with the fears you didn't know existed.
Yes. And I would just say this to moms, because that's a very, very common thing for women and moms, and the fear and the struggle. It is an opportunity that will drive you closer to the Lord if you let it. You have to acknowledge the fear, but you can't give in to it. You can't be led by it, but it will make you more dependent and drive you closer to the Lord. But that is so true, because, you know, and I know dads have that too, right? But it's I think women, it's just a little bit different. You know, the kid gets sick, there's more.
For us dads, it's the daughters.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Daughters.
So that's okay.
Poor
so,
Carrie.
So that's yeah. But yes, it can be very fearful. But you know, I would just encourage everybody, and you all know this too. The Lord is who qualifies you to be a parent, right? He sent you the kid. He's going to give you what you need to, you know, raise them, get them
He
going.
will equip you.
Yeah.
I'll sneak this in there since you said about the fathers.
Yeah.
Hey, this one's from the late great Betty White, I guess. This was a quote. It's not easy being a mom. If it were easy, fathers will do it.
Oh. So she could have come to one of my Bible studies.
I think that's funny. I think both fatherhood, motherhood, both hard in their own way. We just have different roles in it. We have different roles in it. I mean, Carrie's got to step in as a leader of the household. I mean, he's over myself, and I'm sure I'm not easy to deal with half the time. So, he's a little bit. He's the one who's like, okay, spiritually, this is what we're doing. We're going to make sure we're at church. We're going to make sure that our curriculum is biblically based. We're going to make sure all these things, right? And that can't be easy. That's a whole nother level of stress.
Yeah.
And then it's my job to, all right, yeah, let's do that. And we're going to follow through on that. And then we're going to come through and have discussion. You know, how is this working? How is the schoolwork going? How is, you know, is our spiritual life being pleasing to God? And, you know, we're not perfect, by any means, but he was feeling convicted that he wasn't the one teaching them the Bible. And so what has happened, instead of me putting them to bed at night now, he's putting them to bed at night, and he's reading them. I think he's in Proverbs right now, reading them a Proverbs at night, and they'll have a little mini discussion about it, and then they go to bed, and so that's now our nightly routine, and that's helped me out so much. Like having him take over that role, but now he's like, I'm an active participant in this, and then before he goes to work, he's up, he prays, and he's doing his Bible reading. And if any of the girls get up, especially my big girls now, they get up, they grab their Bible, and they'll start reading along with us. And that's just so wonderful to see, is when we model the behavior, they follow the behavior.
Because that's what they're going to catch it. That's what they're going to see.
They'll follow more what you do than what you say almost every time. You can tell them, read your Bible, but if they just never see you reading it, then they're not going to read it.
Exactly.
They won't.
I mean, Chloe saw me highlighting things that caught my attention, and I wanted to remember in my Bible, and she asked for a highlighter, so I got her one, and then I noticed here lately, Carrie takes notes during the sermon, and now Chloe's got her little notebook taking notes during the sermon. And it's things like that just makes my mama heart smile. It really does. When we took him to the park with Harmony the other day, there's two little boys there. One was 2, one was 4. And it just was so great to see Chloe go over there and help play with the little 2-year-old. She had no obligation in the world to go play with him. But she went over there, held him by the hand and helped him do the little things, and went and picked grass. She doesn't be picking grass. She's 10,
Yeah.
But she's doing the things, and I'm like, she is showing the love of Christ. And she's getting it from somewhere, and it's raising them up in a Christ-like environment does so much for as they grow. I know when she gets older, we're preteen stage. The other day she was crying because she was mad and she didn't want to be mad. Oh man. It's about to hit me back to back with all the emotions.
Oh yeah.
I got girls.
Yeah.
Girls on girls. So
You got girls too, Randy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Emotions.
And Ray.
Who's she? And I'm finding out who she is.
well, I tell you what, it was just all emotions in the world. But as she gets older, I can see myself being able to let go and let her make decisions, because we've held on tight when she's young. I can see her character growing. And even though she was crying because she was angry, she didn't want to be angry. I'm like, well, that's conviction. You realize that you shouldn't be acting like this. Like she got saved when she was 9, her sister 8, and then Carly, she's not saved, but she'll tell you Jesus is in my heart. Today I was reading your little notes, questions that may come up, and you said something about tough love. Yeah. And Carly goes, I love people. I'm like, yeah, we love people. She goes, sometimes that's tough.
Yeah.
And she's 6. So you never know what she's going to say.
No, it's awesome.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's not exactly what that means, but
It's
you're
still
right.
true.
But
Sometimes
it's very true.
tough.
Very true.
You're on that path. And
Exactly.
And so that's just been our thing, is start, we got to model that behavior. I wasn't raised in a Christian household, neither was Carrie. And we talk all the time of like, I don't know how we got here.
Only with the Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Only-
it. That's all. Yeah.
That's the only thing. I mean, there's no way we should have met to start dating in the first place, but so that was orchestrated by God, and then Chloe was a surprise. I told this to the teenagers, about lust and love. We were talking about that. I'm like, listen, my appointment, Chloe was born in August and we got married in March because my dress was going to be.
Where's that coming from?
It must be somebody calling the. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
We're done.
Like, Chloe couldn't.
Motherhood calls.
You're never off, are you?
Exactly.
No, we're always needed.
Yeah.
Chloe was born in August. We got married in March because my dress was going to be too tight in June. Like, it wouldn't have fit. And that was before we were saved. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
That was before we were saved. But God sent us her. And I can tell you, I've never woke up like I did with her. Because I got saved Easter Sunday in 2012. That's whenever I got saved because I knew I couldn't do this by myself.
It's amazing how kids will change you that fast. I went through that myself because, going to church all my life, it's going to church all my life.
Right.
But then whenever you have more of the responsibility of a parent or family, you got to realize now it's not just me anymore.
It's not about you at all anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it can convict you real fast.
Oh, yeah.
And
I believe. I felt the conviction. I was 19, newly married, and pregnant. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with any of that. Any aspect of that, I have no idea. I wasn't raised in a Christian household. I wasn't raised with Christian parents who treated each other like Christ would have them. And neither did he. And I'm like, I need help. And he convicted me that Easter Sunday, and I gave my life to him. And since then, I went home and told Carrie, you're going next Sunday. And he was like, okay. So he started going, and he got saved that summer at a tent revival. And that's just how it's been. There was a section of time where we didn't go to church after Kylie was born. We moved, and so we were no longer going close to the church we were going to, and we just quit going. I try to tell these teenagers, hey, listen, you get out of that habit, you'll stay out of the habit. Go to church. I don't care. You got to go. From life experience, because within that 2 years, divorce got brought up. We were broke. Our finances went downhill, and it was very stressful because we had 2 little girls. I didn't really want a divorce. He didn't really want a divorce, but our hearts were so hardened that's where we were at. And so he looked at me. He said, "We're going to church this Sunday." He had a couple of acquaintances who invited him to his church, and we started going. And as we went, I can tell you, I didn't even want to sing worship songs. It's one of my favorite things. My heart was so hard. I didn't want to sing worship songs. But as we kept going, my heart softened. God reminded me who I was in him. And as I grew closer to God and he grew closer to God, our relationship has never been stronger.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with me and Wendy.
It's never been stronger, and our kids benefit from that strength. Like you were saying, I couldn't do what I do without him, and he couldn't do what what he does without me. And he'll tell you he's at where he's at today because of my support, and I'm at where I'm at because he works hard. And he's gotten to a level of where he's at.
I tell my wife this all the time. I says, every strong man needs a good woman. That's very true.
Yeah.
There's a reason that God said man needs a helper. He didn't say he'd like one. Right. Be a good thing. No, he said that he needs
It is
a
not
helper.
good that man is alone.
It is not good that man is alone. Exactly. Because all I'd have is a big TV and more guns.
That's what.
That's what I want to hear no. I don't need anything else. No.
I used to move people. I used to be a mover, furniture mover for many years. And you'd show up at a single guy's house and it would be like the nicest TV, a single chair or couch, and like nothing else. They don't need anything else.
Right.
That's all we need.
Easy moving.
Yeah, easy move. Yeah, easy move.
I know Mark has a good TV.
Mark has 4 good TVs.
Right.
We have one in every. And the funny thing is, we're not huge TV people. Like, you know.
Hey, when you're going to do it, you want to make it nice.
Exactly.
Well, when Bass Fishing's on, it better be on.
That's right. That's right. Yes, yes.
So you can take this as a question if you want to comment.
Okay.
That'd be
These
awesome.
are
But
fun.
here is your mother motivation
Okay.
quote. Successful mothers are not the ones that never struggle. They are the ones that never give up despite the struggles.
Yes, yes, yes.
I would amend that to say successful mothers are the ones who lean on God during those struggles. And there's nothing I've done on my own that I would have been successful at. Like I said, I don't know how to be a mom. I'm winging it. Don't tell them, but I am.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm winging it. All that I know is what's coming from from Christ. You know, I pray, my prayer every day is, Lord, help me be the wife and mother that you would have me to be. Help me to be the leader in the church that you would have me to be. Show me and guide me, and open my heart and my mind for the reading that I'm about to begin. Every day. I mean, there's more prayer that happens, but that's my prayer before I start reading every morning. And that's because I don't know what I'm doing without him.
And on the serious note with that, when it just that don't give up, there are people that in little ways each day they give up. They let something slide. It's just a little. I don't want to mess with it. I'm tired. I don't want to deal with that.
Consistency.
Yeah, and you do have to fight that. You do. Look, it's again, it's not easy, but it's simple.
It's exhausting.
Right? You know what to do. Yeah.
It is exhausting being the one at home in charge of the things. It's tiresome, mentally mostly.
Yeah, and you will work all day. And then, you know, if somebody gets sick during the night,
Right.
you're up at night.
Mama's
you know?
up.
Yeah. We have a little saying, like, I'll joke around with Mark or something if he's like, oh, I just need to go fish, or I hadn't been fishing, you know, and I'll say, I know, I'm just waiting for my lunch break that, like, I hadn't gotten in 23 years. You know? Like, you know, you don't. But listen, that's the job. Like, that's the beauty of it, right? When you were talking about your testimony, it's a lot like yours. When I had Ryan, I wasn't saved, right? And I remember thinking, I mean, I grew up going to church and all that. And I just remember when I had him, my first thought was like, I've got to be better. Like, this little kid didn't even ask to be born. Like, we got to be better, whatever that meant.
Right.
But
just better people
just,
or whatever.
Just something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I can't drag him out Friday night when Mark's playing in the band, you know, like that we can start there, right? You know, and so little did we know that the Lord would save us in 4 years. But that was the moment that I know the Lord used him, right, to put us on that path to get us saved. You know what I mean? And you just it becomes, I say it like this: Ryan is the first thing that I loved more than I loved myself. And that's probably how most people feel with their kids, right? Because you love your spouse, right? But you know, we're human, we're selfish, you know what I mean? And they hand you that little bitty baby, and I was like, you're just gonna let us walk out? Like, we don't take a test? Like, you just get to go home, right? And, you know, and you're scared to death, you know. And I remember, you know, don't you remember the first night, like, oh, they cried, and you just thought, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then the first night they actually do sleep, and me and Mark were like,
you wake up, you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And Mark would be like, is he breathing? I mean, and he would push it, you know. I was like, don't wake him up. But is he breathing? Okay, don't wake him up, but do it again. He's breathing, you know. You know, and so it becomes this whole thing. And I guess where I'm going with this is, here's the thing. I just praise the Lord that through your kids, you learn so much about the Lord and His love for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like
That's how He loves us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is where I started to see, like, oh my gosh, the Lord, like, you want to talk about patience. You want to talk about, and of course, the biblical word is long suffering. Like, let's just make it what it is, right?
Hey, I hear ya. I'm about to go through the newborn stage,
right?
Again.
Yes, 4 times, right?
Again.
Yes, but that's how he does. That's how he does with us. So without him, I can't imagine. And I just thank the Lord every day. Like, his plan for our lives was so much better than anything we could have come up
Right.
with.
Right. Not easy.
No.
Not easy.
Not easy.
But better.
But better.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes we forget that. We say that quite often too, is, you become saved, you become a Christian. It doesn't say it's going to be easy.
No, not
It's not easy.
It actually gets harder in some parts.
It does.
Yeah.
I did a quick search just to prove your point too, that we already know this, but the word child or children is mentioned in about 2,285 verses in the Bible.
Wow.
So that might be mentioned more than God even. I don't know.
Right,
That's a
right.
lot.
Yes, exactly.
God, he gives them to us, but ultimately they are his.
Right.
And I try to remind myself of that because, these are my babies. I love them. And I'm trying to you're raising men.
I'm raising men. That's what I'm
raising women.
Ladies. And let me just say this. I don't want to offend anybody, but I have to say this. I'm just going to be bold and say it. Quit with the princess. We don't need any more princesses. That's a mythical thing. It is not biblical. Let's raise some ladies. How about that?
We have gone through a series, and it's superheroes of the Bible. I think it was called, and it was all women from the Bible. That we looked at. We looked at Ruth and Abigail and Deborah and Esther. And those are biblical women that we're going to look at as examples for how we are supposed to be.
Thank you.
We're supposed to be bold. We're supposed to be loving. We're supposed to be submissive. I don't shy away from submissive. I am a strong person. I'm strong. I'm outspoken. If me and Carrie are sitting next to each other, I'm the one talking. Now, if I get too out of control, he'll be like, hey, he'll give me a nudge.
Pat. Yeah.
I'll get the little pat, like, that's enough now. He's not here. So anyways.
Here she goes.
Here, Karen, this is for you. No,
I'll get a text. Hey, you need to shut your mouth. But, I'm raising women. And I'm trying to raise women who know their place. I will, and that's completely opposite of the world today.
Right.
yes.
It is completely opposite thinking. I'm not trying to raise women who are going to take over. I want the women who are going to follow in the way Christ would have them to go. Now, I'm not going to limit them because I'm not going to limit God.
Right.
But God knew them before they were in my womb. And that's been a verse that's been very special to me, especially lately, is I knew you before you're knitted in your mother's womb. And that's so special. Whenever I look at him, I'm like, God already knows who you're going to be. I'm just here to help push you to it and support you in that. But I need her to know, yes, you can be strong and you can be independent. But when you get married, now I'm praying for a good biblical man. Okay, Carrie's vetting some good biblical, we'll have to have discussions, and I've told the teenagers, there's no reason to date. You can be friends and go bowling, okay? When you're ready to get married, then we can see, hey, is this person going to be the one I marry? And if not, don't waste your time. Don't waste his time, don't waste yours. Be in prayer and ready for the man that God will give you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's no verses about dating in the Bible anywhere.
But that's I want their mindset to be on that. If I'm not ready to get married, I'm not ready to date. Because the goal of dating is to see, hey, is this person going to be the one I marry?
Yep. Yep.
So if you're not ready to get married, just be friends. You don't need all the extra stuff because that's a sin. Okay? Call that what it is. I was very sinful, and I don't want that for my babies. You know, I don't want that for my girls. And as I'm raising women, when they find that biblical man who marries them, they need to know and learn how to submit to them. Put their pride on the back. Because that man is going to be the one answering to God for her and the children. Yeah, I got to answer for my children. But Carrie's got to answer for me and the children.
Right.
You know, like that's a huge responsibility. Dads are super important. Moms are super important, but we are raising women to learn how to be submissive to God and then to their husbands. But also be strong enough to be in a world to withstand that.
That doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean
No.
you don't have power, amazing power.
No,
Right?
I mean, you look at Abigail in the Bible, and so her husband offended David. Okay, and so David was going to come kill him,
Right.
And
And
the
probably
entire
everybody.
household.
Everybody.
All right,
Yeah, everybody.
all the men in that household, they should have been scared because here comes David and his army, and Abigail meets him with provisions and steps in front and says, you know, he may not have made that right decision, but here I am interceding for him.
Right.
So it is what I took from that. I can be bold, I can be courageous, and I can intercede for my husband. I can pray to God and say, God, help him be the leader of this house. He's not the one doing it on his own. I know this is supposed to be about children, but we've kind of turned it.
No, it's good.
Look,
Well, that's how it
I could
starts.
go on this all night long.
Right, and that's what
So,
we do,
yes.
and that's why they wind up like this. And you know, and I do want to bring up, really, I'm very glad that you guys brought this up, and that's the dynamics of this. You're raising really good Christian men. You're raising really good Christian women.
Not princesses.
Not princesses, right? Princes.
Don't tell Carl
Right.
that.
I know, right.
I tell my girls, though, you may be a princess, but I'm the queen.
No, but I'm glad that you guys brought that up too.
Well, and just one thing I want to throw into for someone listening who maybe doesn't know the Bible well enough yet or fully understand this, because we talked a lot about the women's side of it, but just to make sure it's clear, saying that the man is the head of the household.
Yes.
It's like Jesus,
Yes.
the leader servant.
Yes.
It is, you are to bring yourself as the man down to the lowest place. You are the servant of the household, but you lead from that position. It seems so strange at first, but once you understand how it actually is supposed to work,
Well, I
it
mean,
works so much better
Yes.
than
I
any
don't-
other way it could possibly be.
I don't know where it's at, but I know it says, wives submit unto your husbands. Right?
It's in,
but then right under it, husbands submit unto your wives as Christ has submitted to the church.
It says,
What did
love your wives.
Yes.
So
Love.
Yep.
what did Christ do for the church?
He died.
He sacrificed his life. He loved us so much. He sacrificed us, the one without sin.
Right.
Husbands are supposed to love their wives in that way. And women are supposed to respect our husbands and love him in submission to him and his and to his role.
Yeah, and I think you're looking that up right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either
Yeah.
first or second Corinthians. I can't
Yeah.
remember which one I'm looking for.
Well, I know that I've as growing up, I've had that thrown in my face, and I don't know why I never thought to look it up. But growing up, I was told the woman's place is in the house, in the kitchen. Okay.
Well,
but not in a good way.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's why Jesus.
But he was missing was husbands love your
Right.
wives. You know.
Right, because that's a very difficult thing for us men. Because when they said that in the Bible was that the women to be submissive to your husband and then the husband to love your wives.
Yes.
Because they're two very difficult things to do. Right? I mean, to truly love your wife. And then when you think about that as a husband, as what I think of, as Crystal, to love her, right? Like Christ loved us, right? And that's a very hard thing to do for us to, to really say that deep passionate love to saying I love my wife. And I know the women, it's very hard for you to say, you know, I'm going to be submissive to my husband. Because, you know, some women, you know, they're very strong, very strong-willed. You know, when I met my wife, she was a very independent woman, you know, lived on her own, has a career, you know, I don't need you, right? But, you know, now if you look at Crystal now, you know,
I can't even see it. Like, I can't even, you know.
Right, yeah, that strong, independent woman that I'm living on my own. And she moved from Illinois to Arizona.
By herself.
By
I know.
herself
She told me that.
for a job.
Yes.
And then it's funny, I'm like, sweetie, you lived in the ghetto. You know, I'm like, you live in the hood. And you're, you know, 5'7", 98 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. And I'm like, you lived in the hood. But yeah, you know, but she was that very strong, independent woman. And now if you look at her now, you know, we've been married 18 years. And, you know, now she is what God has told her to do. You know, she is submissive and, you know, not to the point where, you know, I'm going to do everything, you know, blah, blah. But it's not, you know, it is to the point of, you know, as I love her and it's out of love. And so after all these years, it's very hard to say that, you know, when God has said that to love your wives, it has taken me time to do that.
Right. But, and I would just say this, all men. Like all men. That's why the command to man. So for women, it is to submit. And then for men, it is to love, right? Because not that you'll have a hard time loving us, right? But it is a selfless love.
Right.
That's already put into the woman. That's when we're talking about kids. Look, you know.
We are made to be the helpmate. Like it is born, it is in us.
Right.
Ingrained.
And Mark will tell you, like, he went through a period, like, it was hard for him to, I don't want to say the word selfish, right?
Right.
But he was a man. It was like, well, I'm going to go do this. Mark and I have always said this, so if it works this way in y'all's house, it will always be easier for the guy to get out of the house and go do something, right? When you ask that question about the thoughts, and what was it like in your kids? You're thinking for yourself and your kids, or the thoughts, you know.
You always have to think twice: once for yourself, once for your kids.
Yes, that's just already in us, right? And then for the man, it's just a different. But see, because what you're getting at, what the Lord's getting us all to, is we are all selfish people, right? Trying to come together, and it has to get, not everybody gets your way, you know what I mean? So like, you guys are learning to love us, as Peter says, live with your wives in understanding. Right. And see, Marcos, we joke all the time, because Mark's like, Kelly, because I'm like, did you not realize that hurt my feelings? And he's like, I don't even know what I said. Like, I don't even remember saying anything. And for a long time, I would be like, well, you know, I mean, it's maybe not even what you said, but how you said it, you know. And he would be like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, I love you, but I have no idea what you're even. And he finally said, have you ever seen the Seinfeld episode that said, hey, do you know what a guy's thinking when you ask him what he's thinking? Nothing.
Right. That's
he's
true.
Like, he's like,
That's
it's
true.
true. Yeah. I don't go deep with you, like, you know, and but God is hitting on the very thing, right? That's it's hard for women to, again, I'm going to submit to you, right? Because submit, it's not just the action. So, okay, this is a whole different podcast if you want to stop me, right?
We'll invite you back for that one, right? But just so anyone looking it up at home, it was
Yes.
Colossians 3, actually, at verse 18, it says, wives, submit to your own husbands as fitting in the Lord, and husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter towards them. There's actually another part in 1 Corinthians, I believe. I couldn't find it because I didn't have time, but where it also talks about, you know, the sign of authority that it gives, you know, men, the sign of authority on them is God. And then women's authority is their husbands. And then wives are fathers to daughters too. So
So it's a whole thing. It is a whole thing. And whenever you're raising girls to be women, I have to make sure they're strong, but also submissive, but not so submissive that they're being knocked around or something, you know? Right. I mean, that's one reason why, you know, we want biblical men. Okay.
Right. Well, so if we talk about the biblical men and you know, we're the men and the leaders of our family.
Yes.
We are submissive to God.
Yes.
Right?
Only.
So only.
Yeah,
that's
never
it.
to the wife. That's
right.
not
That
a
is
biblical
only
concept.
it. I am submissive to God.
God, yes.
Right? And because every great leader we go to a higher power.
Yes.
Right? So my higher power is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I go to. That's who I'm submissive to.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I expect my husband to go to.
And that, you know, and that's what, you know, mamas should be doing, right? Is raising those men to be men.
Yes.
And I want to touch on something real quick because it was kind of cool when you said that, you know, let the man go do things, right?
Yes.
So sometimes, you know, I tell my wife, I says, please just go, let me do a manly thing. Let me go out there and go hunting and camping or be in the wilderness or go fishing. And sometimes we're away from kids right now. I'm sorry, but it was funny that you touched on that because I think it's very important that it's, you know, for the wives to allow your men to be men. Right. To be men.
Listen, it is to your benefit, wives, that your man is a man.
Well, I can't think of a time Carrie's like, hey, I want to go fishing. And I've said no. Like, I'm not going to deny him to go do something.
Yeah.
You know, that will.
And here's the thing you have to get to, too, is men and women, I don't care what they say nowadays. Okay. Men and women are different.
We're not the same.
We are not the same. And, you know, allow men to be men, right? Allow women to be women. There are roles. Don't come after me. Read the Bible, right? God has a role for a woman. He's got roles for men, right? I don't think that a man's role, at least for me, like the whole babysit me thing, that doesn't compute, you know, like.
You are not babysitting the thing you helped made.
Right. Well,
okay.
No, I'm saying when the wife won't let the husband go do stuff because he needs to stay there with her.
Right. Like babysitting your
wife. Like babysit your wife.
Right.
That's
like
what
babysitting
I mean.
your wife because, you know,
Yeah.
You be around your wife so much, and I just need you so much, and just that cleanliness and that attachment. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes those wives get like that, and I've seen that in some households.
I've seen it
where like, please, like, woman, let me be a man.
Yes.
You know, let me go out there and like chop wood or do
you're
something.
just creating conflict within your marriage when that happens. I mean, are you being that insecure? Mm-hmm. Like.
It could be.
That anxious, that insecure. I don't know what your thinking is, but he's going to start resenting you for being that way, and that's just from observation and experience. Not with me and Carrie. We've always been we're pretty. We can be independent. I like to be independent together, but but thankfully so does he. We both like to be home. We're introverts.
Are you an introvert? Right?
Yeah, me and Carrie, we're introverts. I like to be home. Yeah. My first two, they were more introverted. Carly, oh my gosh, I don't know where it came from, but she talks to everybody. Mm-hmm. And when she says I love people, y'all, she loves people. She loves everybody, and that's scary for me.
Yeah, I only bring that up on my wife allows me to go hunting, fishing, do whatever. You know, I'm just saying, I've seen it so much that it's like, oh man.
Well, and there's
got to be a balance.
So here's the next podcast because there's allowing, right? Like as if you allow, right?
Like we have the authority to allow,
and then there's also the respect, and I want you to be the best. You know what I mean? You have interest, you can go do them. That makes you a full person. But that's, again...
Right, that's a whole different...
Yeah. I will bring this, though, back around to the kid thing.
Yeah.
Wives, husbands, everybody. The best thing for the kid, strong marriage.
Absolutely.
That is the best and
there's
first
facts
gift.
to back that up. There are receipts up and down.
There you go, receipts, right? Yes. Because... I will tell you this, like I said before, your kids will get up and leave you, right?
Yeah.
And when that's done, you know, it's
You're
you
stuck with your spouse.
the only
You
one.
better like them.
Just stuck with it.
Well, listen.
You know what I mean?
You can be stuck, or it can be like the best thing too, because
We talk about getting like an RV, like a tiny house thing, and then just traveling everywhere together.
that's how we tell Kyle we're taking him to college. Is we got the RV. That's
Yeah.
and
Just
I
go
don't
in
know.
the parking lot.
I'm like, you can't
we'll
move
call
back
ya.
in if you
I don't
can't
know where we're
find
going.
it.
We'll call you.
Right.
But
Well, the bath boat will be attached to the back of it, right?
I know. Yes. Yes.
But you know that's because we like each other, that we're looking forward to
Yes.
spending that time together. It's not going to be, I don't know you. At the end of all of this, I want to know him and have that relationship with him.
And that's the balance I mentioned, because you also, yes, wives should let their husbands go and do things that are manly or that they want to do. But on the flip side of that, if you have a man who's looking at every single opportunity that comes before him to do something and never says no, I'm going to stay home with my
Right.
family.
That's,
Right.
that,
Well,
that's
yeah.
that selfless
That is-
love, isn't
there's
it?
yes,
that's that
showing
selfless love.
That's
Hey,
it.
I want to go spend time with my wife,
Yep.
even
And
if we're just sitting on the couch watching a movie. Or I want to go hang out with my kids, even if it's something I'm not.
Well, I
interested
find
in,
that, as a
know?
man, part of that, I find when I build that relationship with my wife and my kids, I know what their interests are.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So then if they don't like to go fishing,
Yeah.
you want to go, like Autumn's, she's completely different. She hates fishing, but she likes to go ride horses. So I brought this up. I go do that. We find these interests, and because that comes out of that love for your wife and your kids.
Yes.
And I get to know exactly what they like to do. And sometimes, hey, I want to go do my own thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I
But
will.
we're going to go split it up, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this for them, because I know I don't want to be selfish and just do everything that I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as the wife, I can go do what he wants to do as well. I can't tell you how many nights, because he was trying to earn extra money for us, and he's done wonderful. Spent in the garage with a tiny little heater right next to me, because for some reason it's always cold. So a tiny little heater next to me, and I have my book or something, and I read my book while he's working on cars. Or we'll go fishing, and I spend the entire time untangling lines for the kids, and he's walking
Put
around the
worms
bank
on hooks.
doing
No,
things.
I get it.
But he loves to fish, so we're gonna go do it too, because that's his interest.
Right.
And then he's there's been many times where he's been in the kitchen helping me, or just hanging out while I'm decorating cakes or something, because that's what I do. And so it is a selfless, I want to hang out with you. Oh, I want to hang out with you too. So we're going to do each other's things.
Right.
And that's model behavior for your children.
It
That's
is.
showing them how to do it.
Yeah.
Do it right.
Yeah. And thankfully they seem to just go along with whatever we're doing. Like, you'll look out there, and my oldest daughter is helping him work on the car, where my middle one is just running around
Right.
while he's working on
Well,
the
and
car.
they do that. Like when we set
You
that
know?
example, and then when you said that, I just thought of you, Jed. I really did. Is that your girls go out there and help you feed cows, and they're in your truck, and they're cutting hay. They're anytime you need help with the cows or the farm work or anything like that, your girls are there. They're
there.
involved.
Yep.
And
my little one, she'll mechanic with me.
right.
Well,
she
don't-
tore the whole interior out of that one farm truck. Seats, dash,
Oh yeah,
pretty well by herself.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, Jed, wouldn't you agree that one thing that they crave most is just some time with you?
Just attention.
They
and time.
they just
Yeah.
want to hang out with you. Whatever you're doing, they want to be right there underfoot. And if you have the patience and the love for them, you'll allow them to be there, even though sometimes they're in the way. They
Right.
are.
And sometimes we've had that
Sometimes.
discussion, right? Where like we want to teach them certain things, and we have to step away sometimes and let them struggle with
Let
it,
them
because we're
struggle.
like, I can get this done real quick, and we're on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've had many discussions on
yeah.
that where we have to sit back and be like, I'm going to let you struggle through this because that's how I learned to do this. And this is how you're going to learn to do this because it was a struggle to do whatever we were doing or whatever the task was.
And they get to hang out with you in the process.
Right.
And that's lasting memories. That is something they will take with them forever.
Oh, yeah.
And
And
it
there's
teaches
lessons.
you patience.
Well, yeah, and I remember the first time I got to drive a stick shift truck was, with my grandpa, and then even both grandpas, we get to do that, and I was in the hayfield doing that with square bales, So you remember those moments as a kid and certain things that like I can't even remember at all. Who was your second grade teacher? I have no idea, but I remember driving a stick shift with grandpa, or doing this with grandpa, or with mom and dad, and so you're right. You remember those things, and
it's lasting memories that is so important to them and make them feel loved.
But even as a parent, we might not even know what they remember.
Absolutely, yes.
Because every moment that we've had and we do things, they could just be daily tasks.
That's right.
But in 20 years from now, they'd be like, Dad, you remember when we were out there feeding the cow and this one did that? You're like, no, I don't. But they do.
They do.
Yeah.
It's funny because we can get like that as parents, but a lot of those things we got to just have that pay attention to,
And here's a quote for that. It says, "As your kids grow, they may forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you made them feel."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's one of the things and one reason why you got to have biblical love with your children.
Yeah. It's very important.
You can't just be harsh and be that dad that's strong and you lay down the law. You've got to show love and compassion. And I think as mothers we need to have a little bit more firm and discipline in us rather than the baby, or whatever. And so it's a give and take. I think one thing I've learned listening through all this and in our conversation is whether you Christian school, public school, homeschool, to raise your children up in the way that they should go in the Lord, it's at home. It's with you. It's with the parents modeling that Christ-like behavior and showing them what to do, reading your Bible, taking them to church. So no matter what type of schooling that you choose to do, that's okay as long as you have it at home. I think that's what I've gotten from all of this.
Yeah.
Every child's different. Every situation's different.
We're all just doing the best we can.
If you're following God's will, you'll be able to keep one at home and homeschool it if that's the way He sees fit.
Right.
It's all it's in His plan. If you just submit
to His plan, right? Submit to Him, right?
And not worry and just do His plans. Everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
Right.
This
Keep it simple again.
Keep it simple, man.
This is something that came to me during one of Roger's Wednesday studies was they were talking about that, God has a plan for you. He has a plan for your life. And he sees A and then he sees B, where you're going. And you can go all over in between. And that part is up to you. But he sees A and B.
Yeah.
And
That's
see,
all
my problem right now, I'm going to tell you, is that I have to be patient on God's plan because sometimes I don't even let Him work yet. Right?
You get ahead of him.
I get ahead of Him because I'm like, okay, well, you want me here, but I could see this right here, and I want to go right there, and I want to go do it, and that's what I'm going to go do, and then that's my problem is that sometimes I have to sit back and be patient. And go, I know, God, I'm in Your will, and this is Your plan. And it's a struggle for me, and I can tell you that right now it's a very struggle for me because I want to go. I don't want to see God work yet. I want to go here because I think this is
Derek's going sightseeing.
right. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what I struggle with right now.
Well,
that's one of my difficulties.
Just remember that my oldest son is like that, and we've always told him, let God, what He is doing in the time that you're waiting. You just want to get A to Z, and this is where I'm supposed to be, right? But in that time He's waiting, He is building you to be ready for what He wants to take you to, right? And you can't. He is not going to do a big work on the outside till He first does it on the inside,
right?
Because you have to be ready for like He wants to bless us, right? But it's just like the whole lottery people, you know,
Right.
they dead broke, $5 billion or whatever, and somehow they end up with no money and owing people money, right? They weren't ready for it. God doesn't do us that way, right? He's going to make sure you can handle that blessing that he's going to do. So
Yeah, and I got to be patient.
I don't
with
know
it.
if the waiting, if that makes the waiting
But it's like
easier,
a season.
but-
You know, it's a season
Yes.
that I'm in right now, that I'm just patiently waiting, you know, whatever God's, you know, what is your will for me, you know?
Right.
Well, and we're constantly looking and saying, "Oh, is that God's will for me right now?"
Right.
We think we see it,
Don't you
but
wish
we also have to be
sometimes
open.
it was back in Moses' time where you get a big voice from the cloud say, "Do this."
That would have been easy, because nowadays we
You
make a
know,
lot of guesses and we're like, "This is
do.
where I'm going,"
Well,
and all
we
of a sudden
do.
something comes in, and you got to be ready to be like, "Oh, actually, it was over there. I just needed to go through this door first to
Yes.
get over this."
And God works through people,
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
you know,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes other people are telling you certain things and you're just like, no, I don't want to hear it. No, I don't want to hear it. No, nope. But then you're like, well, that was God's will. Why did I say no to that? You know?
Exactly. Well, and listen, because it's usually something we don't want to hear.
Right.
Right. I will tell you this story. Mark was, this has nothing to do with kids, by the way. It's a good story on that. Mark was interviewed. We were broke, right? And not only were we broke, like, I don't know if you've ever been that spot, but like nothing in our life was working. Like literally our church fell apart, like split, right? Which it was like, I mean, that was where we were saved and we learned. And I mean, that was like heartbreak on top of heartbreak. Church split, all kinds of stuff. Had the miscarriage, like just nothing in our life was like going right at all. So Mark's like, well, I'll start looking for another job. He worked at the cabinet shop he had left Walmart, worked at the cabinet shop. And so he started interviewing with Bass Pro, which, you know, who else would need to work at Bass Pro shop but my husband, right? And he went on this interview and he got all the way to the final thing, right? And I can't remember on that one. It was something like they were going to hire him, but like, I don't know, the position, they just decided not to fill the position or something like that. And then they call him back for another interview, right? And he gets all the way to the top of that deal and they're going to hire him. And then they like this other guy too. They couldn't decide. And so that guy had 2 months of experience on Mark. So they went with him. Anyway, I tell you that just to say, in our mind, it all looked good. And that's what we were going to pursue, right? Because we needed more money and we needed, right? And we were walking out of church on Wednesday night. And Mark had, I don't even know what was said or whatever, but our pastor, I see Mark coming this way, just walking normal. And our pastor is like in a dead sprint running after Mark. And I hear him go, Mark, wait. He was like, listen, just maybe don't take this job just because it's more money. And I'm like, oh, let me get over here. Like, we don't take this job. We don't take any job for the money. No, you know. Anyway, it was the hardest thing for us to hear, right? And he was like, Brother Shane, you know, and he was like, I'm just telling you, Mark. He's like, I've been praying for you guys. Just see it through. Just don't just go take another job for me. Anyway, little did we know that in that time, the Lord was going to give us a business, the very business that like we wanted to get out of because we were starving. You know, no, we weren't starving. I'm sorry, Lord, we were not starving. But, you know, but it was the hardest thing to hear. And I remember having to like go to the Lord and be like, okay, I know he's our pastor, but like, you know, we can't make up our own mind. Like we can't, you know, but it was the best advice we ever got because the Lord, not only did he change all the circumstances, he showed me he would change everything about our lives and not change one thing, right? We would just learn to wait on him. The very business we were trying to get out of, the Lord was trying to give us. That's where we owned it, right?
Yeah.
We could have walked away from so much stuff, and then, you know, it's hard, but when I always tend to listen when people tell me what I don't want to hear.
Right.
Because that's always that's usually where the Lord's sending you.
Yep.
And sometimes that's the truth, right? You don't want to hear it sometimes because it hurts.
Yes. Because it's not easy. It doesn't please the flesh.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, that's not what I wanted to do.
And like, who do you go to for advice most of the time? Is it, people are going to tell you how it's going to be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's usually who we go to, or the
Exactly.
people that are going to tell you the truth and be very upfront with you. And,
Exactly.
that's what we,
The Lord does work like that all the time, though, if you can listen a little bit. Because I had something not too different happen when we were in Hawaii, because I'd been managing, this is before we were saved, I'd been managing and running one farm. And when that fell apart for, various different reasons, and I started putting together I was literally working for like 4 different people. I'd go over to this guy's house in one day and work all day, and he'd give me $100. And then I'd go clearing this farm over here for these people, and they're like, well, we're going to give you $250 a week, so do whatever you can do with that. And I was just trying to put this all together, and I had a friend who was like, hey, you can come do tours at this coffee farm, because he goes, I think you'll be good at that, and you can do it part-time, and they just need some extra help, and you get tips, and they'll pay you something. And I'm like, all right, so I'll start doing that. And then I had an interview at a pretty big surf shop, actually, that's out there on the Big Island called Kona Boys. They got multiple spots. They do snorkeling stuff and surfing stuff and kayaking stuff. And they were looking for an assistant manager. Like the 2 guys who'd been running it and started it, they now had 3 locations. They're looking for a 3rd person kind of, so they could have somebody at all spots. And so I'd had management experience before. I'd managed people and interviewed, had a couple interviews. It was going really, really well. And it was like the same thing, though. There was between me and one other guy. And they're like, this other guy actually worked at another surf shop in California. So we think we're going to go with him. And I was like, okay, all right, bummer. And it was, shortly after that, the coffee farm realized that I was way more than just a tour guide and knew way more than what they even knew. I didn't even give them a resume. Like they just showed up, they talked to me a little bit, and I, told them some of my things that I thought would help with doing tours. And they literally let me go try to do a tour, and we're like, okay, he crushed it, so we're going to hire him for this. And then they found out that I had all this other experience that would be helpful. So they had promoted me to the farm manager of the farm within just a couple of months. They're all of a sudden like, okay, we actually want you to run the whole farm part, because it was owned by a lawyer and being run by an ex-politician from DC. So they're really good coffee farmers. Nothing against them. They're great guys, but they didn't know anything about farming. They were doing so much stuff wrong. And I was just like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? They're like, where'd you learn all this? I'm like, from reading the book. Like, there's a book about this. Did you know that? Like, the college wrote a book about coffee farming. And it was maybe just a few months after that I'd gotten that job, Kona Boys called me and they said, hey, that other guy didn't work out. We want to hire you now. And we had just started going to church. And one of the reason I turned it down, because it was actually more money, was because neither of those guys were saved. They were both very worldly, and the whole kind of operation was very worldly. And the farm I was working at was called Heavenly Hawaiian. That was owned by a very good Christian family. The general manager was a Catholic. We'll forgive him for that, but he still believed in God. And actually the number of people who worked there who were Christians or Catholics, or just at least all believed in God. I mean, we'd had these conversations all the time, and that was not something I'd found anywhere else. People tell you that doesn't exist in work. You have to keep that stuff out of work, but it was the opposite. And part of me just said, no, stick this out. And that coffee farm job fell apart too, but the job I have now was with someone I met at that coffee farm. Yeah, he was the business manager of the coffee farm. So he saw my work ethic, he saw what I knew and how I worked with people and what I did. And so when he went to start the company that he's running now, he kept asking me, he's like, I want you to come work for me. I want you to come work for me. Right. And so again, just those paths the Lord lays before you, and just following that little bit, saying, you know what? Yeah, there's money over there, but I feel more comfortable here, because I was a very new Christian too. So it was very good to have these people to talk to and understand things with who'd been Christians for a long time even. Right. And so, I don't know, again, just listening to those little things that the Lord gives you.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Well, I think we're
pretty
late into this.
We are.
Now
we're at the 2-hour mark, so it's probably a good time for a quote from Randy, or if you guys got anything you want to finish up with.
Is there anything that, like, last words you want to be encouraging to?
It's just raising children.
Hold on, sorry, my bad. Yep, I
He
muted you.
He shut off my mic.
Yep.
He got a text from Carrie.
He got a text from Carrie. No, it's raising kids. It just starts in the home, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, I would just say, all through the Bible, when you see it, it's always starts in the home. Always starts in the home. And listen, it can get tough, and it can be, especially in the world we live in today, it can get really discouraging. But just remember, the Lord put your kids on the earth at the time He wanted to put them here. They all have a plan. They all have a purpose. He's going to use them all. They're going to be what y'all were saying about soft times and soft men. Look, hard times for Christians are going to make them just even better Christians. So that's one thing for our kids that we can look forward to. So.
No, it's been good. I appreciate both of you. Thank you very much for
welcome.
coming on here.
It was fun.
And here comes old Randy.
We'll do a finisher here. It says, raising children is an uncertain thing. Success is reached only after a life of battle and worry.
Yeah. I would just say the worry part. Take that to the Lord. Like, you know what I mean? Like let the battle be in prayer, right? And then the worry part will go.
Whenever you have that relationship with Christ and you realize they were God's all along, that worry kind of, it'll never fully, like, especially as mothers, I don't know, I always have that anxiety of, am I doing the right thing, or are they being the people that God wants them to be? But once you realize they've been God's all along, you don't have to worry so much. You get to enjoy them.
Till they start driving. That's the.
Hey,
You've had one. You have one going into
Well,
it.
she's been
Mine's
in-
legally tomorrow will be on her own if she chooses.
She's been
if
in-
I choose her to.
I've got
take the
6 more
keys.
years, so
Autumn's been in 4 accidents and
5.5
totaled the
maybe.
truck already. It's only
Really?
Yeah, like a year and a half of driving.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
she hit a deer 2 nights ago. So
Oh wow.
Well, that
I've
one
got
maybe you
5
can't
more
blame on her,
years,
but all the
so-
other ones.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, look. The longest 25 minutes of my life, like entire life, was the first time that Ryan was driving from our house to take his ACT up here, just Centerton, 25 minutes. It was the first time he had driven by himself. It was like 7:30 in the morning. I was on the floor. Oh, Lord, I can't do this. I just can't do. Anyway, and I know it's coming with Kyle. After that, it's fine. The only time it got bad, too, when we left him in Phoenix.
yeah.
And when I will just be honest with you, and I will admit, when we left Phoenix, when we got there, 8 lanes of traffic.
Oh, my God.
And I don't mean 8 lanes like 4 and 4. I mean 8 and 8. And
Yeah.
they were all doing 5,000 miles an hour. And I just told Mark, I said to him, we're talking about a 23-year-old. I said, you are not leaving till my baby can get back and forth to work. You think I'm going to let him in that traffic? Y'all are crazy. You are crazy. Yeah. And anyway, he's done great. Look, now, it goes. But yeah.
But he'll come here and be like, you guys are complaining about traffic?
Oh, I know.
This ain't traffic. I know.
Now I'm like, he's been on airplanes and,
Yeah.
I guess where I'm going, the worry part, it's funny because when they're little, it's one thing. And then as they grow, you go, oh, that's nothing. Like you just wait till, you know what I mean? So it all goes. But the driving, that was the worst. That was the worst for me. So
Yeah,
You think we're good?
I think we're good.
We're good.
All right.
We're good. All right.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Melanie.
yeah.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah,
Glad
I
to
feel
do
like
that with you.
I know.
liked
I feel like we could do
Any
like 2 or
last
3 more
words,
podcasts.
old Randy or Jed
need to
or
schedule.
Ray? Anything?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good.
All right.
All right. Why don't I say a prayer? We'll call this the end of the
Okay.
day. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing us together to share your
Yes,
wisdom
Lord. Yes.
through us. I hope that something that was said here this evening just touches somebody.
Yes,
this
Father.
helps someone understand what's going on and helps them to just come closer to you, because that's the ultimate goal for all of this.
Yes, Lord.
Is to bring people closer to you so that they can find the things that we find there, the peace, the instruction, and just the help that we all need here
Lord.
on this earth. And just to anyone out there who's listening, who's struggling, just go to the Word. There are answers there, and we are so grateful for everything that you give to us, especially for our children, the greatest gift that you give us.
Yes, Lord.
In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. That was good.
Thank you for listening to Spiritual Debriefing, a podcast supported by First Baptist Church Hiwasse. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so you can be notified when we post new episodes, as well as check out our past episodes. We'll be posting new podcasts every other Thursday. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you have questions you'd like us to answer, comments, or feedback on the podcast, please contact us through our social media or email us at dmeadows@fbchiwasse.com. Thank you, and we hope God blesses your day.